Hello, everyone, and welcome to Super Switch Heads, the premier Nintendo podcast in all of the internet. My name is Matthew Stoner.
My name is Patrick Nisley.
My name is Summer Rain.
My name is Jordan Willis.
And my name is David Howe.
Woo! Five hosts. Five
hosts.
Everybody.
Five hosts enter. One host, all leave. I don't know. House limit don't work. That's right. We've been doing this for 5 years. All five of us are together, and we'll be answering your questions. You ask questions. You put them in the Discord or other parts or in YouTube comments. You asked them, and we're answering them. That's the main topic for today. In the news, we got a bunch of it. The state of play happened. I'd love to see Death Stranding 2. I'm really excited to talk about that. We got news about the Sonic 3 cast. Celeste 64 was like a surprise release. We got the demo for Mario vs. Donkey Kong, and then Apple Vision Pro also released. But before we get into the meat and potatoes of everything, how's everyone doing?
We're doing great. Thank you, Matt. You nailed the intro.
Yeah,
no
I
notes.
I know I did.
Yeah. It's really good stuff. I don't know. I'm doing good. I think I had a pretty good week. I've had a very busy past week. Work has been kicking my butt, but it's been mostly good. This past weekend, I just kind of tried to have a bunch of me time, just was couch potato mode. And I think for the most part, I was able to accomplish that. I've been playing some new games and chilling out hard. But yeah, I'm doing all right. How about y'all? How are you doing?
Busy as well. Good, but busy. So this past week, I flew to New York City to film exteriors for this movie I'm shooting. And but also still having to respond to some emails from my other job. So it's just been a lot of juggling, but also, I was like, I'm taking at least 3 full days to just do this thing in New York City. And we got everything we needed to get done. And, it wasn't too painful and it was pretty good, but, just the back and forth and it was people like, oh, you were on vacation. I was like, not really. I was carrying a camera the entire time for 10 hours a day, trying to figure out how to make all of this footage match from the interiors to the exteriors. But anyway, a little bit about the sausage, how the sausage is made is, you film all the interiors somewhere else and then you go film the exteriors where you need to be. But anyway, but that happened. I got back on Saturday. Our flight was delayed. It was a whole thing. And then yesterday I just had to run errands. And then today I'm back at work and I'm like, oh boy, I want one more day off. But, I still just appreciate the opportunity to get to do what I want to be doing too, as well as having a good job. So I was I can't really complain too much. Overall doing pretty well, just a little sleepy.
Yeah, I feel that. It's been a while since I've been on the pod. So the short version is I turned 40 back maybe a couple of months ago. Thank you for clapping.
You made it.
I accomplished so much in my 40 years of life.
We love 40.
So I've been putting together this silly art project where I asked people to fill out a survey about me. That was really fun. And it was, for me, very fun to develop those survey questions. And to make that and to send it out. And then I'm going to send the responses to a data analyst who's going to find dumb patterns. If you like ska music and you've been friends with Matt for 2 to 3 years, and you've been to at least 2 to 3 countries, you're more likely to be satisfied in your relationship with Matthew. It's been really fun. Honestly, as silly as it sounds to say a survey is fun, that's been a fun art project for me.
You fucking love a Google sheet, dude. I fucking get down on some Google Forms.
I do. Yeah. It's kind of my job to do some of this stuff. So to incorporate ridiculous nature plus a survey was fun. And so that's been taking up a lot of my mind, but also a nice creative outlet for me.
I'm doing good. I went to another Mario Kart tournament with a live band again last week. And I was put in the very first round that went, and the guy who won last time was in the same seating as me. So I got struck out in the very first round, and it's okay because I was there for the music. And they played a lot of new tracks this time. They did Moo Moo Meadows, and I went apeshit for it because the guy bought a penny whistle just to play Moo Moo Meadows, and it was really excellent.
Oh.
If you can go to one of these shows, because it looks like they're getting a lot of traction online, and I'm guessing a tour is very likely. So if you can see them, definitely do that.
What's the name of the group again?
Right now they're just Mario Kart Live in OKC, but not for long because I'm sure they'll have a band name. I'll look it up and see if they've chosen one yet. I'm in their Discord, and last time I looked, they were voting on what the name of the band was going to be.
Okay,
so
cool.
Yeah, a friend of mine sent me a reel of that the other day.
Yes.
Who lives here. It was just like, look at this fun thing, and I was like, hey, my friend was at that.
yeah, yep.
Cool.
I am telling y'all all this for the first time on the show, which is kind of fun. I quit my job.
Round two, let's go, baby.
Patrick, you love quitting your job.
I have actually quit this job 3 times.
Oh, third time's the charm.
Third time
Let's
is the charm.
go.
I started
I'm
working.
so happy for you.
I started working there over 20 years ago originally. So I am very lucky in that I have a family member who is going to invest in my game. And so I'm going to be able to completely focus on finishing my game for the next few months.
Wow.
And then I'm going to have to find another job. But I've
not when it fucking takes off and you're
I'm not banking
millionaire
on
game
that.
dev.
I'm not being foolish to bank on that. But I have with this and some money I've saved up. I've got about 6 months. So I really am hoping to finish the game
Whoa.
in the next.
That's beautiful.
incredible.
I'm like
That's
literally
awesome,
crying. Oh my
dude.
God.
That's
I
so
am
nice.
very happy. Today was the first day. I partly haven't told y'all because I wanted to tell y'all like this. And then also because we did an episode on layoffs last week and I wasn't sure when I would know like for sure about like when I was leaving and all that and start doing this. And that would have been awkward to
question. This angel investor is not a member of the Saudi government. Is
No,
it?
no, it's just it's, and I wouldn't say angel investor. It's really only, I'm getting by here.
Devil investor?
Yo.
Not
This
at all.
capitalist.
It is
you're
a
working
family
with.
member who's supporting me so that I can finish this and
Yeah.
find a different job for a little while. So the game's gonna get finished in the next 6 months,
yeah,
like
dude.
come hell or high water.
That's awesome.
I'm gonna do it, and hopefully sooner than that. But I'm no guarantee about when it's gonna come out. Maybe I'll need to polish it. Maybe I'll need to market
Mhm.
it, whatever. But this year, hopefully. Anyway, that's been my thing. So today was my first day of just focusing on it, and I'm trying to tackle the hard things first.
Like
And-
creating a Facebook page and inviting
Yeah.
people.
and
to
then
like
when
it?
I needed a break, I did that. Yeah.
Okay, weird.
But I also
You
like,
made a Facebook? I haven't logged into Facebook
Yeah,
in so
I
goddamn
hardly
You
ever
long.
need
use
to, so you can go. I know. I saw that you were getting. I was like, oh, Patrick got on Facebook to me.
I got on all the platforms. Yeah. So I'm just trying to
Everybody go
push
like One
it
Frog Games
as well. Yeah. Not just finish it, but like actually now that I have time to push it. So
Beautiful.
anyway, we're going long. We should move on to talk about last week's episode, which was about layoffs, which was a wonderful episode, though a tough one to talk about. And I think we got some really good comments about it over on our Discord. There's more people that made comments, but I just picked a few here. Medium Quality said, holy shit, y'all, this new episode was almost difficult to listen to, but also likely one of the most important episodes you've ever made. And thanks for sharing the difficult stuff. We got similar comments from people, but like Swampy Southpaw said, hell yeah, I love an episode that boils down to capitalism has ruined what I love. Segovia said something a lot of people said, which is just really great episode. So much knowledge being laid down, great life evidence, even outside of video games. And then Bucket pulled one of my favorite quotes that Leanna said, which is, let's teabag these fuckers and make some changes. This is a quote of 2024. Over on YouTube, we got a bunch of comments too. Extra Life Reviews said the whole thing has been upsetting, continues to get worse, and they hope that people in the industry know that there are some of us who respect and appreciate you. They had more to their comment, but just to pick part of it. Dylan said they wonder if these layoffs and VC money are drying up are partly preemptive, trying to get ahead of AI. That's even horrible, even worse thought. But
It's
thanks.
not. Yeah, I think there might be
Might not be
something
far
to that.
from
Yeah. And then Sprowlix asked what this is right here, this puppet I have. It's a puppet. It's not a plushie. I used to make puppets. And yeah. anecdotally, maybe we'll talk about this later because I think it kind of ties into this podcast, a puppet anecdote. So I'll save that in case it comes up.
Always leave room for a puppet anecdote, just in case.
When we talk about the founding of the podcast, there was a puppet involved, sort of.
Yeah, no, definitely another shout out to Leanna Rupert for coming on the show last week. That was such a great episode. We got so much love. A bunch of new subscribers as well on the YouTube channel, and a bunch of new listeners and people who reached out and just talked about how much the show meant to them, including this really, really nice email that we got from a gentleman named Michael. We'll talk about that later in the show. But yeah, just thanks everybody so much for tuning in over the past 5 years and especially last week.
Yeah. And if you're new, thanks for coming and joining us. This is maybe a weird one to follow that up with if you're new, but here we are. Definitely, if you follow the podcast, we always appreciate it if you could share it with somebody post a review, that sort of thing, and then head over to the YouTube and hit like and subscribe. And then with that, we've got some news to get through. As Matthew said, the Mario versus Donkey Kong demo came out. The game's coming out real soon. They've previews, not official reviews, but outlets were putting out previews where they've been able to get hands on. More than the demo, because the demo is pretty short. I played it with my kid to try out the 2-player, and he played it by himself. Really enjoyed it. I don't know if anybody else had a chance to play the demo or has any thoughts on it.
I've played the demo that is the original Game Boy Advance game, but I have not played this new version of the demo yet. But I am planning on getting this game anyway, so I was like, I'll just play it whenever it comes out. So I'm glad to hear that it's fun.
It's only 3 levels, and it's only the first world, 3 random levels from it. So you could, if you want to play the demo before the game comes out, it won't take you but 10 or 15 minutes. But yeah, the 2-player is about as chaotic as you might think. That you definitely can cheese some things, and you definitely can drop each other into spikes real easily. And there was a lot of that, which I think kind of balances itself out nicely. You know what I mean?
I think I saw Matt's eyes twinkle a little bit when he said you can drop your friends onto spikes. Spiteful bitch.
Yeah. Fuck you, everyone.
No, my kid and I definitely had a little bit of stop doing and there's a live system so annoyingly. So we worked our way through all the lives just killing each other, and then we're annoyed at each other. It's let's focus now. But the previews are good. So yeah, I mean, this game's coming out soon. We're going to talk about it a lot then. And we can move along to the Apple Vision Pro, the VR headset that Apple seems to want us to wear all day, every day, has come out.
All day, every day for 2.5 hours, which is
the charge,
the life of the battery that sits in your pocket. Yeah.
I don't know if they really want us to do that, but it kind of seems like that's what people are saying, at least. I don't know. This thing has always looked a little weird and creepy, but also intriguing. I don't know what to say. There's a lot of people issuing warnings and stuff too. It's kind of like when Google Glass came out. I feel like there's a bit similar vibe, right?
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about this thing. I mean, I feel like it is the natural evolution of VR and what is needed to bring VR to a wider audience. But I think I'm just really hesitant to be is this something we want to bring into our everyday life? And also it's $3,500 and the battery you have to put in your pocket. It's not built into the headset. To me, this still feels very Gen 1,
100%. Yeah.
And most Apple products come out the gate ready to go. The first iPod, boom. First iPad, boom. I don't. So, I mean, I feel
what
I'd wait.
You're saying is that we'll all have one in 10 years.
I honestly probably.
Yes. Yeah. I think we will. I mean, people made fun of the Apple Watch when it first came out too, and the AirPods with how much they stuck out of your ears and the iPad and all that kind of stuff. Right. So I think that this is definitely a first gen product. This is also the first time they've launched a Pro device. Right. I can see them launching a cheaper just Apple Vision down the line as well. Right. Point. I think that they know that this is overpriced. They know that this is too heavy. They know that it has a shitty battery life. They're just trying to get the rich tech bros who are down to clown and try out their new shit. on this right now. I think they know that this isn't for everyone at the moment, but
Yeah.
everything I'm seeing about it, I mean, I get it. I mean, it definitely looks interesting and cool. I think once they get the tech down to where it's projecting onto a lens that has actual pass through and not like it's giving you a feed of the world. Because right now it's like sending you video that it's captured from outside, right? Once you're actually just looking through glass and the stuff is on the glass, that's when I think this tech is really going to take off. And then obviously we're a gaming podcast, you know, like I think the ways that this could be used for gaming are myriad and endless, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what that is. But as of now, it's just kind of like, this is kind of like the first new thing that Apple's launched in a while that is actually like pretty exciting, even though it also makes me roll my eyes quite a bit.
I mean, and that depends what ecosystems they're willing to allow on their platforms too, right? Because they're already really protective about like what you can play on a MacBook and what, you know, is allowed, or where you can play Apple Arcade. Things like
the other way around too. I think like it's like YouTube and Netflix are both not on the Vision Pro right now, and it's not because Apple didn't want them on there. It's because the other ones are like, "Fuck you! You tried to get us off all your other platforms. Why would we support you on this?" You know,
exactly.
So all the bridges are that are burned aren't like rebuilding with this new tech right now.
Yeah. Now, if Apple is the only company that can secure a contract with Nintendo, then we're talking. Then I'm going to be like, okay, if I can get into Animal Crossing with this thing, then I'm there. Then yes, I am immediately selling foot pictures to get one of these. That's the only way this is going to happen.
That's the $100 Patreon tier.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I'll only make one comment here, which is I saw something on you mentioning Nintendo. I saw someone playing Switch on the Vision, and they were playing the Switch emulator on their PC, plugged into a capture card, captured onto the Mac, and then the Mac screen share into the Vision.
It's so simple.
Oh yeah, that easy.
Yeah. And people are like, what's the input lag like? And the first response was like, not that bad. And we're like, what are you talking about? Not that bad.
So yes.
Yes. I appreciate over engineering like a really what seems to be like a simple problem of a thing that you should be able to do. It is wild to me, but I was just fascinated of all the steps it took to get the result. That's probably just okay.
Just put the Vision Pro on your head and then look down at it in handheld mode. It's got a pass-through camera. That's all you need.
We'll have to see how this develops and what the adoption of this device is. And depending on all that, maybe we'll be talking about it again in the future. We'll see, right?
Yeah.
But we'll move on to we have a lot of non-Nintendo news this week. We're going to start off with some Xbox. Xbox is, there's been all these rumors that exclusive, or what you might think would be exclusive Xbox games, are going to be going to other platforms, in particular PlayStation. Like Starfield and Indiana Jones have both been talked about as coming to PlayStation. These are not official yet. And as well as we've already talked about like Hi-Fi Rush coming to Switch and other stuff. And so much of this is being discussed, and I want to hear what y'all have to think about or to say about this, or if I missed anything. But also Phil Spencer just made like a statement to be like, we hear you and we're gonna talk about it soon, which is
like next week, right?
Yeah, I think
that's what he said.
Yeah.
So
Ooh.
What does that mean? Why would you even do that?
It means the direct isn't coming out for another 3 weeks. It means that they have to have their announcements before Nintendo.
We've had state of plays and directs on the same day. I don't know why we
in
didn't have the.
Well, it's not even. This isn't even. They already had like a developer direct, right?
Yeah.
Like a couple weeks ago. This sounds like it's. They say he specifically said more about the future of Xbox.
Like business wise,
presumably, right? Like what I don't know, the future of Xbox, would make seems a little like there is no future of Xbox the way when you say it like that.
And future speculation, there was a job posting on 343's career page, which is the company who like makes Halo Infinite, and one of the bullet points in the job post said, ability to think about gamers and gamers on all platforms. And so thinking through of like, this is fucking crazy.
I feel like, I mean, I think it was David who said on a previous, they just missed the sale. Once it's like the Game Pass is like the new thing, I feel like they miss selling games. And I feel like it makes sense for some of the bigger games, like Starfield, for example, would be perfect on PlayStation, where, yeah, you can buy your Game Pass subscription and probably forget that you're subscribed to it and be subscribed to it for 6 months and, pay them way more money than you would have paid just to buy the game outright. But Sony users are just going to buy the game outright too. So it's like they get kind of the best of both worlds. Like, I don't see why they wouldn't want to make a guaranteed sale at this point.
Mhm.
I don't even know if that means that their hardware is going away. I just think they're like definitely trying to make a guaranteed sale.
Well, they certainly don't give a fuck about physical games anymore. They have let, in the layoffs that happened last week, they laid off a bunch of their physical games division. And, they, in that patent for that leaked
The new one.
or whatever, they said it's the adorably all digital version of the Xbox Series X was their wordage there. So if they don't have physical discs to put into a physical system anymore, why even have a system at all? So I don't, they have to be taking a loss on every Xbox Series X that they sell. That's the stuff in there, it's a few years old now. It's not like the newest components, but it's still not cheap to do those. And you take a loss on a console because you hope that people stay within your infrastructure and that whole ecosystem, right? I've been trying not to be Chicken Little about Microsoft turning into Sega here, but every day that goes by, it feels like they are becoming Sega more and more and more,
Sure.
and they're going to be getting out of the console game, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that that's a good thing. I don't want Sony to be just kind of unchecked in that department. For the past 2 console generations, Microsoft has been struggling to keep up with Sony, right? And I think that this generation is doing worse than the Xbox One, and the Xbox One was pretty bad. And so, and I say that as a Series S owner, I enjoy my Xbox Series S. But I think it seems to me like they're really trending in that way. I'm very interested to see what this talk is going to be that Phil
I'm
Spencer is
also
doing next week.
Very interested in like what the strategy will look like if it's day one. Let's say that these games do come out on PlayStation. If it's day one, next Gears of War releases on PlayStation, or is it like 7 days to a month exclusive on Xbox platforms, and then it releases on other platforms?
That's the rumor right now, I think. Especially, I think what I heard about Indiana Jones was that it would be like 3 to 4 months exclusivity, like basically, or maybe up to 6, like on Xbox, and then eventually make its way over to PlayStation. I just think it's funny that they're like, Starfield's coming to PlayStation, guys. It's like, after like nobody cares about it anymore and like it got trashed by like the gaming public, like good timing. I don't know if it's going to be like the big boon that you think it's going to be, but whatever.
Also, I did quickly Google the Xbox One sales versus Xbox Series X sales at this point in the lifetime, and it's about even. It's about maybe about it's a 2 million unit difference, which sounds like a lot, but it's 27 million units as of December 2023 versus that's Xbox Series X, 27 million. And then Xbox One was about 29 million at the same time in its life cycle. So I feel like it's doing about the same sales wise, like for hardware numbers, but like looking in the future, they're like, we're not increasing our sales and there are more gamers now than ever. So why would we continue making this hardware?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing we haven't mentioned is Game Pass. Like, I think that they're, obviously Game Pass is on PC but it's a little different. And also that's not, I mean, the whole point of a console, right, is that people who don't have a PC. So I think if they keep a console around, it's really just a Game Pass machine, unless they're changing something bigger, right? Like I don't know what that would be. Like, are they upset at themselves about this Game Pass thing? Did they shoot themselves in the foot by like, is it the Netflix problem, right? Of like, we bought all these companies, we're making all these games, and we just put them on Game Pass, and we aren't increasing enough people on Game Pass.
Probably the simplest way to do this is just throw Game Pass on everything.
Right. That's what they want, right?
Yeah.
That's what
probably the
saying.
easiest way to do it. Yeah.
I don't know if Sony's going to want Game Pass on it though. I don't know. Maybe they will.
Sony gets a cut.
Yeah, maybe they will.
Every month.
Yeah, I'm always curious when Game Pass will cross the threshold from like non-gamers to like more casual gamers or folks who would be deciding to buy a new console that might choose to go for like a smaller platform. When that happens, when both like you would describe a regular person who's not the host of a Nintendo podcast might say like, oh, Game Pass is like Netflix, but for video games. Like a casual conversation that would happen in like a library or a grocery store or something like that. Once it crosses that threshold, which I don't think it is, the only people I know who,
don't spark up conversations in a library, Matt.
I don't care. I'm talking about Game Pass. I'm talking about it. Library's the place. Once that happens, once people are like privy to it, because the only people I know who talk about Game Pass are like gamers.
Because even gamers don't always know, right? Gamers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Once that the threshold will be hit once they throw Game Pass onto Apple Vision Pro. That's clearly when it's going to take off.
Yeah, you got me thinking about it though, Matthew. I think it would be. My mind has gone to like they need to score like exclusives with certain casual markets. Like let's say it's like a specific version of Candy Crush or something. Like that's how you get Game Pass into maybe, I don't know.
Peggle.
Peggle. Yeah. I mean that is I'll buy fucking any Peggle. But I mean it's like Netflix is trying to be the Netflix of games.
Yes.
Like they are putting more and more games out every day.
About games to try on Netflix, and then I don't remember because I'm not going to Netflix to play games.
Nope.
Yeah.
Well,
anyway.
We should move on. We're going to stick with Sony, though. They had a state of play on January 31st. And as Matthew mentioned up top, one of the big things they announced was Death Stranding 2.
Oh my God, Kojima, my boy, shows up. Incredible.
On the beach.
Just like a wild, out of this world presentation, so abstract. Kojima being his most Kojima self in the highest production value. There's maybe a movie. Gameplay looks the same, but the cinematography and like the design looks incredible. I am stoked for Death Stranding 2 or DS2, whatever we're calling it these days. I loved it. I loved how wild it was.
I love the title. I didn't watch any of this. I just love that the Death Stranding 2 is the subtitle is on the beach. It sounds so casual.
Well, that has a pretty big story implication, I imagine, from the first game as well. Like if you've played through the first game. But yeah, I mean, it looks way crazier than the first one, and the first one was insane. It had a baby giving you the thumbs up that's strapped to your chest. So like the fact that this one looks even crazier is really saying something. Fucking the dude is spread a little thin though, gang. I mean, let's take stock here. Kojima's working on 3 games simultaneously, if you include Fizzint, the new action espionage game that he also brought up. He's also working on the Death Stranding movie, and there's a documentary being made about him, and he's doing his podcast all at the same time, and he's starting a YouTube channel as well. So the dude is just like doing so much shit at once, and I want for him to chill out a little.
He's also taking lots of pictures with celebrities. That's
yeah.
an important
Oh,
part
I know.
of it.
I feel like I see a new TikTok with him in it every other day too, of him just like dancing with someone around a random object.
He's living.
Yeah. But he's
and then he's
busy.
like, I'm putting together a Lego set. It's like, how do you fucking have time to put together a Dune Lego set, my guy?
How dare you enjoy Legos, man? You got a movie to make.
Let him do it.
Yeah, man, he's living his life. I'm
not saying don't play with Legos. I'm just saying
that's what you said, David.
Well,
said, stop playing with Legos and give us video games.
Anyway, I think it's great that we're getting a bunch of people to. This is my takeaway from the state of play. A bunch of people went and Googled Sonic X Shadow and expected to see a video game, not MPreg images.
Okay, I was like, what are you seeing? what could it be? Patrick, can you show that on screen now?
Well, that's definitely another thing that was shown off, right? Is this Sonic X Shadow Generations? Which
that's my only takeaway is how could they name a game that and not think about it like at all? How did that get How did that get
if they just needed 2 more X's in there. Was there anything else? I mean, there's a Sonic game. This is Sonic Generations, like remastered along with a new like as I think somebody called it, like Bowser's Fury or
Shadow's Fury,
maybe.
Yeah.
Good call, like sort of a little extra tag on game here. It's coming out this fall.
Yeah, I mean, this was a good. We don't have to go through everything on this, but it was a good. As far as state of plays go, this was pretty fucking solid. All the Kojima stuff, the Sonic stuff, and then the new game from Ken Levine, the BioShock creator, Judas, looks really good, and a lot of other stuff. So this was a good, solid showing from Sony. I'm glad they're not just trying to hawk PSVR 2 all the time anymore, because that has kind of ended up being a bit of a bust.
Well, just because we are a Nintendo podcast, we should mention that the Sonic X Shadow Generations game is coming to the Switch as well. They had a Switch trailer a day or two after this. But then we'll stick with Sonic for a minute. Sonic 3 movie has they've started to share, or I don't even know if this was. Yeah, I think this was officially announced, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some of the cast, in particular, Jim Carrey coming back as Dr. Robotnik, which I kind of felt like wasn't going to happen based on something we had heard or was said or what have you.
Well, I thought he had retired.
Maybe that's what it was.
Not for this role.
Not for this amount of money that they were offering him.
Yeah, he's coming back as Dr. Robotnik, but in Deadpool 3. Not in this.
And then some other cast members have been announced for Sonic 3. I don't know if anybody cares about the specifics, but it doesn't sound like we know who's playing Shadow yet.
I do like Rouge the Bat as a character because it's just really funny to me that is a character, and I'm glad that she's going to be in the new movie, and apparently Kristen Ritter is going to be her. Which
I don't think that's been confirmed.
It's suspected.
I would like Kristen Ritter as Rouge the Bat. Yeah.
Okay.
AKA my girlfriend Rouge the Bat. Yeah.
Did y'all see the second one?
Yeah.
Yes. I saw it in theaters with a Sonic costume on.
Okay. Spoiler alert. I've not seen it, but is Amy in the second one?
No.
I feel like Amy's got to be in this one, right?
They have been pushing Amy hard in the games.
Why? Yeah, in the games too. But I mean, I'm just really hoping for a Big the Cat. That's just That's my guy,
Big the
dude.
Cat. I want a whole 10-minute segment of us just enjoying Big the Cat while he's fishing.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Bonus
Why
content.
not? That's the post-credit scene for the movie.
If we still got DVDs, then that totally would have been like something you could have chosen off of the bonus menu.
Yeah,
it's like just a 10-minute loop.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, or an Easter egg. Yeah, that you find off to the
exactly.
side to click. I miss that.
I miss DVDs.
Well, we'll move on to talk about a game that is somewhat related to Sonic, and that is Penny's Big Breakaway. Penny's Big Breakaway, we're talking about that for a couple of reasons. One of which is that a bunch of previews have just come out for this game. They have still not given us an actual release date. It's supposed to come out early 2024, but now previews are coming out, which makes it seem like it's coming out very soon. And there's been some rumors that maybe this will be a shadow drop at a direct.
I mean, with this much press all coming out at once with no actual date for the release, that is screaming shadow drop to me. And I think this was first revealed in a Nintendo Direct as well. So I could totally see. Honestly, I think the Nintendo Direct is happening this week. I think it's going to be happening the day this episode comes
You're
out.
playing Penny's Big Breakaway right now.
Right now.
Yeah.
By the time you're listening to this episode.
We always make that joke, but this time I think it's actually true. Like I really do think this is coming out like this Wednesday, but time will obviously tell on that. But yeah, I don't have much more to say on this other than this game looks incredible and I can't wait to play it.
Mm-hmm.
Another game that you could play right now, but another indie game, platformer, Celeste 64 just came out. This is a sort of the 6-year anniversary of Celeste just happened. And as a sort of fun free move, the developers just put out a short 3D version of the game for people to play. I have not actually tried this yet. Has anybody here tried this?
Not yet.
No. I just downloaded
haven't.
it right now.
Yeah, I also have downloaded it on my Steam Deck, but I haven't fired it up yet.
Bummer. I would love for us to talk more about it, but I guess like it's just cool that it exists. So I've been meaning to check it out myself too, but haven't had a chance. So
Yeah, I totally planned on playing it, and then I got really caught up in a couple of games that I've been playing this week. But yeah, it's just nice that a bunch of people are making N64 style platformers now. Like last year, there were so many good ones between like Pseudo Regalia and Corn Kids 64 and Cavern of Dreams and all those and stuff. And so like, I think releasing a free game like this from a developer like Matty Thorson, who is known for making amazing platformers, hopefully we'll get a lot more people into these like lo-fi, low poly platformers and just get these into more people's hands. It's really great stuff.
So GameIndustry.biz did an article about this report that came out from this company or service or who knows what they are, called Griffin Gaming Partners, where they surveyed a bunch of different game studios. And this isn't like every game studio on the planet. They surveyed like 500 and something game studios. But disappointingly, the major headline that's coming out of this is that like most of them are working on live service games. So again, I don't know if how they picked these studios. You can look into it. There's infos out there, but 95% of these 537 studios are making or maintaining a live service game. I don't know that you can extrapolate that to all developers or not, but dang, that's a lot. And that's just not sustainable in terms of like, unless they're like really small scoped or something, right? Like, which they aren't probably, I don't, or, you know, like the other thing that was maybe a little disappointing also on top of that was there was something about some of the quotes and stuff were about how they really want to put out something every week or every 2 weeks for these games.
Just read the room. No one wants this.
Yeah,
like,
read the room.
The fucking room, guys. Yeah,
I can't even keep up with all the 1 to 2 hour long N64 styled platformers I want to play.
Yeah. What was interesting is that also in this survey, they like, you know, there's a majority of people that agreed or said that they think live services are necessary for long-term title success.
That's weird to say long-term title success. It's weird that it's phrased like with the long-term, just like
I guess
a short success isn't long enough, like a successful launch.
Like there's not a long tail to selling games anymore, maybe is what they're trying to say.
I see.
Like, you know, you have your launch window and you sell during that. And then if you don't sell enough in the first X weeks, you're probably not going to sell that many more.
So it's a different way to say like we make more money this way.
Sort of, right? Like, but I don't know that they do, right? Like, I mean, some people do, like, which we're about to talk about. Like, I mean, this is kind of a good transition to talk about.
Before we move on, can I just say I just went to the Steam concurrent players list that's live right now, and Suicide Squad: Kill the Justice League is 105. You had to go to the second page in order to see it. This game came out last week, gang. This past weekend it came out. Yep. This game is not cracking the top 100 on Steam. Okay, like, read the fucking room, man. If this game that's been in development for a decade can't do it, that had tons of fucking buzz, even though a lot of the buzz was negative, still buzz.
And an IP that people, you know what I mean? That people know.
Yeah, you'd think just with the IP, I mean, we've seen other IPs that had a lot of negative buzz do really well.
And a very respected developer, too, with Rocksteady. Everybody loves Rocksteady, you know, but people are just not interested in this kind of game, you know? So anyway, sorry. I didn't mean to get so heated. Fucking totally live service gets me all torqued up, gang.
I think if there is a market for like live service, one of the genres is like survival. To move us into this next thing, I think there is a market for that, and I think as we've seen with Power World and the other game that came out recently that I can't think of the name of, starts with an E, whatever. Power World, I just wanted to mention because this continues to be in the news. This game is doing well, and I thought there was like an interview with this developer where he talked about live service games and stuff like that of just being like high risk, high reward. And they are definitely hitting the reward. But of note, talking about Game Pass and stuff earlier, they have sold 12 million copies and they have had 7 million downloads on Game Pass. And as such have like become the most non-Microsoft first party, biggest third party game, which I think previously was like Fortnite or something. Or at least
it is currently number one in current players on Steam. Yeah.
Yeah, and there you go. And
They passed Counter-Strike 2. Yeah, and Dota.
And then here's the thing too, right? They are successful, but one thing that's kind of come out is how much money they're spending on servers. And it's kind of mind-boggling. Like, because
is it not sustainable?
Well, I think it might be, because if you continue to sell well, right? Like, or people continue to buy things or whatever.
Well, there's no microtransactions in this game. It's a one-time purchase for this thing. Yeah.
And maybe they'll scale down as they need to, but it sounds like they really are putting a lot of emphasis on that from what I've read about this server thing, where they said, like, don't worry about the cost. We need to make sure these servers stay up. And they're spending something like in the hundreds of thousands of dollars a month or whatever. So it's crazy.
If they've sold 12 million copies at $30 a pop, I think they're doing okay.
Yeah, I mean,
it's an indie studio, you know.
Yeah,
let's not
how
forget
big
that.
of a studio they are. Like, I really
small.
have no idea. Yeah.
Somebody did the math in this article, and it says that it would equal $6 million a year to run their servers, according to what this guy posted, which is a lot. But I don't know. Yes, they've probably made a lot more than that, but we'll see. I don't know. Just crazy. Like, I don't think that's another thing, right? Like, if you are successful, then you have to deal with stuff like that, right? I don't know. Live service games, Power World. I don't know what else to say. Anybody got anything else before we close it out?
I mean, yeah, I don't know. Just this is the power of Pokemon, gang. I mean, straight up. There's a reason that this cracked 12 million sales instead of Craftopia, you know, their last game, which was a ripoff of another major Nintendo IP. You know, this is the shit that people want to do, and this is the shit that people, and a lot of normies are playing this game, and a lot of people that don't play this kind of game are playing this game. I was tempted. I did a comedy show the other night with Chris McKeever, and he was like, "Come play Pal World with me, man. We're having so much fun." I was like, "You guys look like you're having so much fun."
Well, real quickly, I have a note on that front. Like, I heard people point out, Scarlet and Violet sold, the last numbers we got, 23 million, a little more than that, right? And if you count the 7 million downloads, which I don't know if you can or not, but like add it onto the 12 million sales on Steam, that's kind of close. And the game has only been out for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So, Pokemon, right? Like, and maybe even
half the price of a Pokemon game. There's only one, you know, instead of 2 different versions or whatever. But yeah.
Has anyone here played it?
No.
Is anyone here planning on playing it?
I'm fucking thinking about it, man.
Yeah, I mean,
it looks like so much fun.
I mean, the yellow rat needs an AR-15 in his hand. So yeah, let's play some Pal World.
Yeah.
Boy.
I know, it's ridiculous.
Well, then that's going to do it for the news, and we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to be talking all about 5 years, answering your questions, reflecting back, and looking forward on the future of the podcast. We are back this week. It's our 5-year anniversary. I actually think this is exactly 5 years from the day we recorded our first episode.
February 5th, really?
Mm-hmm.
And it's the 5th.
And it's the 5th, and there's 5 of us. There's sort of some real numerological significance happening. But we are here to just kind of celebrate 5 years of doing this show, and we took a bunch of questions. We're going to try to get through as many of those as we can. Maybe apologize if we don't get to your question, but hopefully we do. Man, I thought we would kind of talk about the history of the podcast and the future of the podcast, but kind of those questions came up, so we don't even need to prompt ourselves unless there's anything anybody wants to say at the top here before we get going.
The one thing I'll say before we start is how insane it is that we're doing this. It's still, you know what I mean? Like I always wanted to do a gaming podcast because I listen to a bunch of gaming podcasts and I like to talk a lot. And so it's like, oh, this makes a ton of sense. But surely I did not think that every single week for 5 straight years with no real break, like we'd still be doing this thing. That is just kind of, I can't believe that we even got to this point. Anyway, every once in a while I sit back and I say, what am I even doing?
From like bedrooms to hospital rooms to our own rooms, just like, it's wild.
Yeah.
Well, we'll reflect on all that. We're going to start off with a question from Real Tomato. I think this was seconded by somebody, and I forget who, maybe AV. But they said, not sure if this has been answered in previous episode. And I know we've talked about this a little bit. And they identified themselves as a newer listener. Said, how did you guys meet/decide to start doing a podcast together? I want to hear a little backstory and what has changed the most about the podcast since you started. Congrats on 5 years. So thanks, Real Tomato. Yeah, I feel like this is David's question to answer because I think David kind of started the whole thing, like indirectly.
Well, I made Switch Headz as a Facebook group, right? Like that was originally how this got started. It was originally called Switch Boys with a Z, named after the Joy-Con boys from Etika. Rest in fucking peace, Etika. I think about Etika almost every day. That's not even a joke. Basically, the idea was like, you know, I had a Wii U for who knows how long, and I never had any friends to play with, and I saw so many more people were getting Switches. And so it's like, okay, well, you know, the kind of friends service on Switch kind of sucks. So it'd be nice to have a little Facebook group where people can like link up together with people I know that actually have a Switch and we can play games together, right? So it started as kind of like a meetup group. And then that kind of, you know, I don't know I guess it was maybe my idea to reach out to you, Patrick, about should we do a podcast? I don't remember who it was.
Yeah, so I remember, but real quickly, David and Matthew and I were all involved in the Austin comedy scene, and that's how we knew each other, right? So doing improv, a lot of improv. I did a weekly show where David also did a weekly show like right following it. And Matthew would sometimes guest on those shows, like, and perform in groups and different connections there. But so it was a lot of people in the comedy community that were part of that Switch. It's hard for me to say Switch Boys now, but because it just doesn't, I've said Switch Headz way too many times. So
yeah.
And
I forget who it was who told us not to gender the group's name, but that was an excellent idea.
Yes.
Yeah.
And now we're Headz.
Yeah.
I feel like it might have been like Lisa. But anyway, it doesn't matter. What happened was I got a Switch in part because of David too. So the story I was kind of alluding to with the puppet is David and I did a show where I did we sang a song and I was a puppet using a puppet. And like in the green room, he was playing Switch.
Let's name the song. It was Hero by Mariah Carey.
And he was playing Switch in the green room. And I was just like, man, I got to get one of those. So I did. And he let me play it a little bit. And then like, I just started talking to David about it a lot. And I got really into it and was like watching lots of YouTube videos and listening to other gaming stuff. And yeah, David and I had this conversation where I think both of us independently had the idea. I don't know that like you thought of me, but I thought of you. And I was like, David, what if we did a podcast? And I don't know how we thought of Matt. I think there was like a natural connection because you were active in that group too.
Yeah. And I think you'd done some sort of streaming or podcasting stuff before, Matt. And so
I had a movie podcast for a long time with Cody Deering.
Okay. That's what it was. Yeah. But you were in the Switch Headz Facebook group.
Yeah.
And then I was
doing memes all the time.
Yeah. Do you remember who reached out?
I don't remember. I think we talked after a show.
Okay.
I think Empty Promises, the improv team that I was on for a long time, did a show for Good Fight, and then we started talking after one of the shows. Mm-hmm. And I was like, "Yeah, let's do this podcast. Let me know."
It's one of those.
I have this equipment.
It's one of those rare, at least in my memory, it's one of these rare instances where I had an idea. And it involved both of y'all, and it came to fruition. Like, how many times have you thought in your head, like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if I did a project with these people? And then, you know, it never happens. But
you know what that is? That's true love. It's love at first sight. It's like what you see in the movies.
Just a little bit for me of like, so I moved to Austin in 2020. I'm sorry, 2012. But we didn't start like Super Switches until like 2018.
Yeah.
So, but like from 2012 to 2014, I moved to Austin not knowing a lot of people, and like comedy was my like social group. So I'm like going to the new movement, not knowing anyone to see comedy shows because that was the scene I was involved with Phoenix. And so I went to like, Patrick, I don't know if I've told you this. I went to like opposite shows quite frequently because you had a weekly show, and I went to Good Fight shows all the time. So like I saw y'all perform many, many times before like I even knew any of y'all.
Yeah. Oh, that's so sweet. I didn't, I don't think I realized that.
Awkward. No, that's wonderful to hear. That's like a nice, you've never told that, I don't think. That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll never forget the intro that you have in Opposites for your weekly show. It was like so inspiring to be like, oh, that's the name of your show, and
Yeah, I got a little thing right here.
Yeah, you have the premise.
Dude, I miss Opposite. I think I'm just realizing right now how much I miss Opposite.
It will never come back.
Show.
I have talked to Mark about it, and Mark is like, nope, never doing it again.
I do not like you.
No, we're still friends, but he's just not want to perform. So
yeah. But real quick too. I mean, obviously, we should talk about the other two hosts here.
Let's tell that story.
Yeah. Well, first of all, Jordan, I know you. How did we meet? That was through radio.
We met
right?
through KVRX, from student radio back in college. So, somewhere between the years of 2008 and 2012, David, Howe, and I met at college radio and we became fast friends. I would
also
say.
love at first sight.
I think so. I was just like, this guy's cool. Let's hang out.
Yeah. Since then, we were roommates as well. We worked together at one point.
Yep. They were roommates.
We co-parented my cat Cosmo briefly before he lost his tail.
Cosmo.
Yeah, he's meowing in the background right now.
I heard it and I was like, am I imagining?
That's Cosmo.
What's up, Cosmo? How you doing, bud?
And then and then Summer, we've met through this podcast.
I was just a listener, man. I found the podcast late 2019 when I was trying to find podcast. I was looking for anybody that was talking about Pokemon. Let's be real. And
that's our expertise, obviously. Is
and
Pokemon.
then I know. But then it realized, oh wait, they talk about all things Nintendo. And then. I know that the first episode that I was asked to be on was in 2020. You guys did a cosplay episode, and I was really active in the community, especially with Animal Crossing. Just kind of spun out of control from there. I wouldn't. That's the key, guys. If you don't shut up in Discord, 5 years from now, you will replace me here.
I'm certain that you weren't the first person, Summer, who wasn't connected to us already, but you were one of the first people who wasn't already kind of connected to us. That was like an important part of like the community, and that was something meaningful too, right? You and Kyle together, and but y'all came and were like, we like this, and we're like, oh, you don't even know us and you like it, you know what I mean?
That's the even funnier part to me is like when we started listening, we didn't know that your entire audience was just in Austin, Texas. Like we're not, dear listener, if you don't know this yet, I don't live in Austin. I'm not. I see these guys once a year when I head in and out of San Antonio. And that's...
or when we go to Fort Worth for Final Fantasy concerts together.
Right. Yeah, that'll happen again for sure. And
or at a Lobster in Austin.
That's true.
Again, in Austin.
Yeah.
Well, we've definitely got more people now that are not in Austin and comedians and all that. But you were among the early ones, and that was...
an early adopter.
Yeah. So
yeah, you paid the $3,500 for the
Apple. Maybe we could talk about a couple of comments we got. Because you mentioned this at the beginning. We got that email from Michael, and I don't know if somebody has that handy. We don't have to necessarily read any part of it. I don't know if they intended for us to, but talking about people who don't know us, and every once in a while we get a wonderful comment from somebody we don't know, and that's always really helpful or just nice or whatever. I don't know.
We got just this really, really nice email from Michael, who's a listener of the show. And if you're listening right now, Michael, thank you so much for the email. It really meant so much. It made me tear up. And that just makes so much of this worth it to read, I don't know. It was very, very heartwarming. And it's comments like that, really keep us going. Cause sometimes it's very much you're shouting into a void when you're doing stuff online. And so, it was just a really beautiful email that we received from Michael. So thank you so much.
And we got a really nice comment from Real Tomato as well. The person who just gave that question, sort of similar, sort of nice thing to hear. They came to the party late, but they love what we've created and look forward to listening every week and some other things. But I think the one question we should start with, or go to next rather, is actually like 5 different questions, but we got a lot of versions of this question. So maybe we can all give an answer to this one at least. But Segovia said, what's y'all's individually favorite episode? AV said 5 favorite episodes. Jay said favorite episodes, moments from this year. And KSBOKC said, for Jordan and Summer particularly, what has been your favorite moment since joining? So a lot of questions about favorite episodes, favorite moments. Does anybody want to start with a favorite episode or a couple favorite episodes? Jordan, go for it.
I'll go first because I was like thinking about it and I was like, man, I really love bit episodes, and the Zoom Festival episode is like always one of my favorites. And then I was like, man, what other episodes were like, man, I really like the movie pitch episode. And I was like, shit, I think I'm just a Chris McKeever fan. So those are like some of my favorite episodes for sure. I just love like any sort of bit episode, and just kind of improvisational episode is like really funny. So, and then the other one I wanted to shout out was, the special episodes of David's childhood fan fiction are incredible. Like, just like the amount of attention and detail you gave to these. Like, at first it's like a bit, and then you start to listen, you're like, no, this is good.
How good it is the bit.
It's just kind of like hilarious. You're like, oh no, this is definitely the editor of Castlevania. It's something like really well produced.
I think it was for our like 250th YouTube subscriber or something. Yeah. And yeah, which we're not that much higher than right now. But it's like, but yeah, it was my childhood Zelda fan fiction books. I'm actually really proud of those. Thank you for saying that, Jordan. That means
you
a lot.
should be. It is still like incredible. I think about it pretty frequently.
I'll go real quick, which is I tried to think of 5 to answer AV, so somebody could have 5. Recency bias, but the layoffs episode we just did is on this list. The Tsum Tsum episode. Since you mentioned the Zelda ones, I'll say the Captain N episode we did. I think we've only ever done a couple of scripted episodes. The ones that you just mentioned, and then the Captain N one, which was Matthew's baby, and was a lot of fun to do something a little different. I think the achievements episode is up there for me, just because I came away with a new perspective on achievements. Your friend Steven Swirsky on that one was a really great guest. There's lots of them. It's hard to pick 5, but I did. And the last one is also pretty recent, but the E3 is Dead with Kate Ludlow was another really good industry person shining a light on something that maybe isn't kind of like the layoffs. Like, it's just helpful to hear a different the inside perspective on some of these things. So
totally. Yeah, those are all good picks.
I'll pick a few that came the first instinct. Disney Tsum Tsum Festival. And I love that we love it so much. It's on our website. And part of the website, it looks like it's a review for the podcast. And there's a quote. And the quote is from Chris McKeever from the Tsum Tsum episode. That is, quote, "Where else can you get a detailed analysis of Disney Tsum Tsum?"
Yeah, that is like one of our most listened to episodes. Too.
I know. That's why I love it. It's such a bit. And so when Chris McKeever and I see each other in real life, we're like, you still playing Coin Pusher? A game from Tsum Tsum Festival. It's so much fun. I also had fun doing the Xenoblade episode with Emma and DCD and getting real nerdy into lore, super lore head. And then also where we talked about like magazines, no strategy guides, like like video game strategy guides.
One of my top 3, I think.
That's
that
a
one,
really good one.
Just like hearing about the business of strategy guides and like the timing of when they come out and how it works. It's like marketing and all the functions of strategy guides was fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those are great. I actually have a little playlist on my own YouTube page that I made one day when I was just kind of feeling nostalgic of just like what I think are the best Switch Heads episodes. So like almost everyone that we've said in here is in there. Some other shout outs I'd love to give. Now That's What I Call Video Game Music was in our first 50 episodes. It's where we had Corduroy on, and we went through some of the best video game music, and we had clips from each one, and Corduroy talked about a lot of that stuff. I really enjoyed that. composing for Donkey Kong Country with David Wise.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yes.
I mean, we got to interview David Wise, the guy who made the fucking Donkey Kong Country soundtracks. Like, that was incredible, right? I'll never forget that. We did a great episode with MVG, which I loved, about the Giga Leak. We did an episode called Fishing in Video Games. That was so much fun. I really enjoyed that one as well. So I'm going to try not to go through too many of these, but, Super Dreamcast Heads was such a good bit.
April Fool's joke.
What a good one.
I don't think we ever broke once that
No.
episode.
It's a really good one.
It was really, really intense that we did that for so long. A couple others I really enjoyed. We got to talk about your game dev journey, Patrick, with the Monochrome Heights game. I thought that was a really special one. And also getting to talk about game dev with Siactra as well. But I think one of my favorite, most recent ones was the Nintendo Eras Tour episode about like kind of breaking down all of the different management eras of Nintendo. That was just one that I learned a lot from. It was great having Vince on for that episode. And I think it's just, I like when we can kind of condense a lot of history into our main topics as well. I think that's one of my favorite things about the show is that, we do news every week, but it's also hopefully these main topics can be pretty evergreen to go back to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We need to do another trivia episode.
Yeah.
Because that was fun. And pretty much any rankings episode I love.
Mhm.
Would love to be on one day. It's like my Michael Scott moment. Rankings. Yeah, let's go. It's
Pokemon
hard not to
rankings with Summer.
literally just say when. It's hard not to say a lot of the ones you guys have already said too, but like I'll go ahead and say wind. Like you're talking about the bit episodes.
yeah.
Like I actually loved the wind episode, and I want to do more ones like that because
Yeah.
I think it's a fun and funny breakdown to do. I'll just say personally too. So like David and Patrick, would you have done an episode on Story of Seasons if I wasn't here?
Oh no, I think
Yeah. So
Oh, yeah.
hello. I'm asserting my farming simulator dominance.
Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah.
That's
No,
because of
yeah.
me. You got that.
A Musel 2 asks a fun one here. NSO games only. What are your personal top 3 games available on the service? Anybody want to
Okay,
take
everybody
this
say
one?
their number one at the same time on the count of 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Super
Mario
Mario
I really thought we were all going to say F-099, and that's why I said to do that.
Headphone
Damn.
users.
Wow. Fuck. Okay.
I
I
didn't
didn't have
even-
enough time to think. I just said a game.
I didn't even think about
Tekken. I don't know.
F-099.
Yeah, Tekken is on NSO.
I said Super Mario Brothers 2.
Well, I was gonna joke and say
It's not
Super Mario Bros.
incorrect.
1, Super Mario Bros. 2, and Super Mario Bros. 3. But for me, it might be something like that, like Mario World. I don't know.
I think for me, it's like stuff that's like really just good to play on the Switch too. So it's like, I mean, I would definitely have to say Tetris 99. I mean, I've put so much time into Tetris 99. I love that game so goddamn much. And then, as far as like the actual NSO like apps, it's kind of like a joke about how much I love Pilot Wings, but I do love Pilot Wings. I think that's one of the games that I could just pick up and play whenever and just blast through the entire game from start to finish. You know what I mean? It's like it's probably one of the games that I've picked up and played most. So I really enjoy that. And then and somebody else pick another one while I think of the third, or maybe we'll move on.
I do know my 3. It's definitely in no order in particular: Super Mario World, Metroid Fusion, and Ocarina of Time. Just I didn't even process that we could pick F-099, Pac-Man 99, or Tetris 99, or Super Mario 99.
They're all NSO games.
Yeah, I didn't even process that in my brain, but those are my 3 picks. Like hands down, 3 games I could always go back to and just find
Nice.
complete joy.
Yeah.
Let's do a silly one that Matt will love. AV asks, what are the best 5 games in 51 worldwide classics?
Ooh,
This might actually
I've
be
got a serious
answer. I feel like this might have been a joke question, but David's going to give a serious answer. All of AV's questions are 5 related, which I really appreciate
You said-
numerologically.
Just so I understand, you said the top 51 games, right?
You just trying to get us to say all the games again, buddy.
Just checking.
Not gonna happen.
Well.
David, what are some of the top ones, maybe?
Okay, well, I mean, Hanafuda is a goated game on Clubhouse Games 51 Worldwide Classics. It is the most fun to play online. It is a fucking blast. I think second, and it's a close second with Moncala. Moncala is a fucking blast to play in Clubhouse Games 51 Worldwide Classics. Those two games are basically the only games I really mainly play on Clubhouse Games. But, there's a bunch of other really great ones as well. Can't go wrong with chess. I'm going to put chess up there. I'm going to put backgammon in there because that's like one of the only games that I play online with my dad on the Nintendo Switch family of systems is backgammon. We play online together, like not as much as I'd like, but we do play that game together quite a bit. And then I don't know, what would my fifth be? Yahtzee or Yacht Dice.
Yacht Dice.
Is what it's called.
Yes.
I really enjoy Yacht Dice. All of those are really fun to play with randos online.
I just want to give a shout out to Hans, who had another big question, which was, with the Super Switch seemingly on the horizon, how likely are we to get the most anticipated game sequel for it? Clubhouse Games 52 Worldwide Classics. I don't know. Maybe there will actually be a.
I got a question about this. Is it all the same 51 games from before plus one extra one?
Yes.
And that's justifying a sequel? Or is it 52 all new games?
It's 51 games from 51 Worldwide Classics. And then the 2 is a
sequel,
an entirely new 51 Worldwide Classics.
They should just call it 51-2 and make it really confusing.
102 Dalmatians.
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just Clubhouse Games Ultimate. Like, why? What are we doing?
Everyone's here. They put Waluigi in 51. God.
All right. Well, this is another one where we got a bunch of people asking similar questions. So I'm going to read them off real quick and you can kind of answer this how you want. But KSBOKC says, if you could change one thing about the podcast, what would it be? Conversely, what's one thing you'll never change? AV asks 5 lessons learned. DCD says, if you could go back in time to the day you started the podcast, give yourself advice, what would it be? Or what's something different about your life from then until now? And Ivy asks, what's the biggest happy surprise, blessing, gift that's come from the podcast that you would never have expected? So take which one maybe speaks to you. I think they're all kind of about what have you learned from the podcast, or what would you do differently about the podcast now that you've been through it, about lessons from it, or about things that have come out of it that are positive. So yeah, they are different. I'm grouping them together. And if you really want to answer more than one, go for it.
I'll go first. The first thing that came to mind, I think lessons learned, that doing video has been really fun. I wish we would have started that a little bit sooner. Hard to tell because the origin of this is like a podcast, and podcast is like audio only at the time of the original conversation. But
yeah, it was like us in a room without cameras.
Yeah, exactly.
Like we were all together. Yeah.
Having all the equipment and wires everywhere. It was man, good times. I want to think how different it might be if we started video earlier, but also glad that we eventually got to it.
I'm gonna just take the cheesy answer from Ivy's question, which is what kind of unexpected thing. I thought we would do a podcast and we would talk to each other, but like having all these people that I now consider my friends, join like Summer and Jordan, like having y'all here, like that, Ivy, all these people that I actually talk to and like play games with, and to varying degrees, as part of this community. I didn't think about that or expect that. And that's been especially, during a pandemic and just in general, getting older and staying home more, having friends that I can play games with online and having, so.
That shit, I mean, the Discord was invaluable to my mental health during the pandemic, not to say that I rely on you guys for my mental health, but I do.
Communities of support are how we get through things.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
That's totally okay to say.
Yeah. And beyond that too, I mean, it's almost weird that we started this before the pandemic, like the pandemic caused so many people to podcast. You know what I mean? I feel like whenever I say to people that I have a podcast, they like assume that I started it during the pandemic, or it was like we just did it as like a thing to do because we didn't have any time. We were all stuck at home. It's like, no, dude, like we like started in rooms together. We had it. You can go back in this podcast to the episode before, because we have like a social distancing episode where we're kind of like just talking about the pandemic and like how we were scared and like what was going on. But then you go back and listen to the episode before that, and you can feel the tension in the room then too. It's like that, like the couple episodes like leading up to when we did eventually take this podcast remote. It's like the first one was with like Jeremy, and Jeremy, we're just like joking about it with Jeremy. I like listened to some of these recently, and you know, we were just like making jokes about like Wuhan and stuff like that. And then like the next one was
JJ?
I think the VR episode, yeah, with JJ Castillo, and he was like wearing a mask and gloves and like showed up, and we were all kind of like really nervous because like, yo, this dude is actually like wearing a mask. What the fuck? Is this actually kind of real? You know, and we like took a photo. We took our selfie like all separately, so we weren't next to each other, you know? So it was definitely weird to go through that with y'all, like having started on the other side of it and then now be here. I think that's maybe one thing, if I want to answer just like what I would never change about the podcast, is that I love being in a room with people, but it's like having the ability to talk to anybody from any place, wherever, is invaluable. You know, like I loved the immediacy of us all being in the same room together, and I think you can hear it a little bit. But I think also we found our rhythm in an online show that didn't lose any of that kind of realism and the goofiness and the fun and the bits. Like I feel like we were still able to get that rhythm, and I think being able to talk to David Wise, being able to talk to Leanna Rupert, you know, being able to talk to, you know, we've had and Keeps Gaming on in England, and you know, all this crazy stuff, and yeah, and the two of you know, like I really love that we're able to do that in this world, you know.
Also, want to piggyback off the blessing, which is I got to play Fire Emblem Three Houses, which a game I would have never started playing unless I was bullied into it. Now I have like purview into this understanding a little bit why people like this game. It was so cool. I was glad to be part of the community. Bullying works, everyone.
I think like I just really like having an outlet to talk about video games, because when I was in college and when I knew David back in college, I did a video game, not a podcast. What do you?
It's like a radio show.
Radio show, yeah, like a 30-minute radio show. And
it's like a podcast in your car, but there's no phone.
It's like a podcast, but old.
You had to tune in at a certain time.
Be very specific. We didn't have any recordings of it. And so I was just like having an outlet to talk about that kind of thing and having that type of community. So like just having that again is like really nice. And, you know, people in my life can only hear me talk about video games so much. So I really just appreciate having a group of people who are all like-minded and share that passion, like to my level, and sometimes exceeding. And it's really fun to watch them exceed it, because you're like, damn, I love how much you love video games. Like it's great. Yeah.
Yeah, man, there's so much good prompts in here to go through. I think it would probably be a little bit more okay with and stuff like that, because I really edit the shit out of this podcast, man. I spend a lot of time every week editing the podcast, or maybe like figure out a good way to like automate some of that stuff. You know what I mean? Because now I'm like, I feel like the longer the podcast goes on, the more and more like detailed my editing gets. You know, when I can't help it.
For the podcast listeners, sometimes David will post in the private Discord. Wow. Okay. Sausage. But his
I don't
screenshot
post
of his,
a picture of my sausage in the Discord.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like you just said, by the way.
That 8-inch screen.
That's being liberal.
He'll post a screenshot of his Premiere, his Adobe Premiere
Like timeline.
screen timeline, and as someone who has edited himself, it like makes me just boing, big eyes,
Yeah.
like, holy shit, how many cuts do you have in this damn thing? Then I listened to the podcast and it sounds so buttery smooth, and I understand exactly why there are that many cuts.
I'm addicted to the sauce, man. I can't help it. I'm an editor.
You're fucking good at it too, so whatever, man.
Hey, thanks, man.
Do your thing.
Consequently, something that I have kind of tried to get more in the habit of is paying attention to how much I say things like and like, and paying more attention to the cadence of my speaking voice as well, making sure that I have a clear, cohesive thought before I start speaking to try to get it out in the way that I want it to sound.
Yeah, I think I've definitely gotten better at getting back to my train of thought after going down a tangent. I used to be awful at that, like when I was younger, but I think like podcasting has like strengthened that part of my brain. Well, like the rest of my mind has just gone. You know what I mean? Like my post-COVID brain fog has turned me into a pile of mush. But that one part of my brain, I think I've been able to get pretty good. And then I really like this other part of DCD's question. What's something different about your life from then until now? And I think so many of us have gone through major transformations. I mean, Patrick, you've quit your job 3 times since we started this fucking thing. And then I've gone through like 3 relationships, and I've gotten cancer, and I've gotten cancer, and I like learned how to walk again after being paralyzed, and I feel like I've moved so many times, I've gone through so much stuff. I feel like a completely different person than when I started this podcast in a lot of ways. But then in a lot of ways, you go back and listen to some of those episodes and you realize you're the same guy, But then, I don't know, it's just wild to think how long 5 years actually is, even though it seems like it's a moment.
Well, we got a lot of questions here, so, definitely interrupt me, but we'll move on to another bit one maybe real quick. The Huge asks for us to do an FMK with the buff emojis. Does that speak to anybody?
Yeah, let me go look at the emojis real quick in Discord.
Okay. Yeah, buff.
Because I don't mind doing
Sora,
that.
Buff Santa, buff Kirby.
I'm honestly not. I don't find buff Santa very fuckable. In fact, I might kill buff Santa.
Yeah, I have an immediate
What am I supposed to do every December when I'm announcing the secret Santa?
No, I'm not saying don't use it. I would kill it if I was in the room with him.
Oh, I thought you meant kill the emoji. Duh, you just said fuck, marry, kill. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going with fuck wind, buff wind, marry 1-2 switch buff horsehead, and kill buff Santa. Yeah, that's my vote.
You would marry the horse from everybody 1-2
why
switch. Wow. Okay. Well, with that bod, can't go wrong.
Oh, don't we have? If we could just get one more buff Luigi emote, then it would be all 3 Luigis.
I think I would definitely. I think fuck the buff Luigi with his hands at his sides. That's definitely. I think that's my favorite buff Luigi for sure. I know Jay loves the arms outstretched buff Luigi, and I think I would marry. I mean, does Donkey Kong count? He's pretty buff.
He's inherently buff. Yeah, no.
Yeah, but he hasn't had to been altered.
All right, I'll marry buff Kirby because he's got a feminine side, and it's nice to have someone who could listen. You know what I mean? I would marry Kirby.
Harvey.
DCD says, "Is there a franchise you wish you didn't have to talk about on the pod again?" Oh man,
that's a great question.
It's a good question. I don't know what my answer is yet.
Who wants to be the asshole first?
I feel like whatever we say, we're gonna offend at least one person.
Yeah, let's all say it together. 1, 2, 3, Xenoblade. Okay, and,
Super Mario Brothers 2.
Honestly, it's just like hearing this question. I actually don't. There isn't one. Like, I think like you bring up Xenoblade, there can be time periods where I'm frustrated about talking about something, but like right now, I don't feel that way,
I think what's nice is like there's been a good balance between all of us to where we all are passionate about different franchises, to where if we don't like a franchise, you just sit back and let someone else talk about it. So there might be an answer for this for me, but I cannot. Honestly, for me personally,
say it.
Splatoon, because I don't play Splatoon. I play and I'm
Holy
like,
shit.
I'm okay with the hate that I'm gonna get, but it's like I played Splatoon 2, could not get into it, didn't bite for Splatoon 3 because I couldn't get into Splatoon 3 or 2. So why waste my money? And
I wouldn't shut up about it.
I'm very happy to listen to y'all talk about it, but honestly,
I hear your bit, and I would like to heighten it by saying F-099.
Oh my god, you get the fuck off the fucking podcast. No, I think for me it'd be like a genre, and it's not that I don't like talking about it. It's just like I feel bad that I have nothing to add, and that's because I have such FOMO whenever anybody else talks about it, because I want to be good at this genre of games, but I just can't be, and that's Souls likes. I just can't. I can't get into Dark Souls games, guys. I've tried so hard. Tried to get into Elden Ring, but it's like people get excited about like Lies of P and all this stuff. I'm just like, I just don't care. It's like I have nothing to really contribute.
Good
Sadly,
most of those aren't on the Switch, so we don't.
yeah. I guess you're right, but I kind of glaze over a little bit when people talk about Souls likes.
Emma asks us to describe the ideal or our ideal Joy-Con special release Switch design if you had the power to make one.
Just bring back see-through shit. Just officially sell Atomic Purple, and I'll pay extra for it because I already have to if I want it, like custom. So,
I think for me, Joy-Con special release would be Evangelion. I would like to see some weird event, Eva, like purple or red Joy-Cons.
Dude, purple with green buttons, like let's go. That sounds
but it's like
sick.
It's a Switch that, like, when you turn it on, it turns into a giant mech, and you got to get in it and pilot it.
You have to, yeah.
I'm with Summer, like translucent shit. Like the fact that they haven't brought that back is like insane. I was listening to the previous episode and y'all are talking about just see-through pink. And I was like, fuck yes, I would buy that shit in a heartbeat. That sounds so sick. The only other thing I can think of is I would love some sort of Metroid themed anything.
Mm-hmm.
I recently went to the Nintendo store and they had a Metroid section, and I put in air quotes section because it was literally a clothing rack with 3 pieces of clothing, none of which were related to the latest Metroid release, which is Metroid Prime Remastered, and they didn't have anything Metroid Dread related. They had a Metroid, whatever. I'm getting on a side tangent. A Metroid themed Switch or Joy-Cons would be sick. Like something like orange or like a nice faceplate for the dock would be really cool.
Yeah.
A Musel asks, what is a memorable game that you ended up really enjoying that you likely never would have played without the podcast? Matthew, you already gave a good answer to this.
Fire Emblem Three Houses.
The one that comes to my mind is when we did the visual novel episode a long time ago. I felt like I hadn't played enough visual novels, so I got the Ace Attorney games, and I love that franchise now. And so I don't know that I ever would have played it, and just visual novels in general. Like it forced me to try that and realize that I enjoy that, and especially the Ace Attorney character and that humor and that wackiness. So that's my answer for that one.
I'll go because Pikmin 4. I was not about to pick up Pikmin 4, and then I started playing it for the Pikmin 4 episode, and I ended up 100% in Pikmin 4. I loved it. I was like, I could not get enough of the gameplay loop. Thought it was super addictive and really fun to play.
I'm trying to think. I think I'm unfortunately just such a big fucking gamer that
you loved everything.
or I don't, and I just don't. Man, I'm trying to think. I should play more games. No, there's too many games.
Too many
games.
Good thing there's a bunch of live service games coming out your way.
I don't know. I'm gonna go with Town.
Oh my god.
Little Town Hero.
Wow.
Yeah.
Season 1 reference of Super Switch Head.
Yeah.
By the way, what season are we on right now?
I don't know.
Infinite.
We
We've
had
lost
an
the
idea
plot.
to delineate those at some point, but yeah.
We got a silly question here from Becky Rebleep. Would you rather be chased by all the snakes in the world or all the men named Snake in the world?
Well, how many men named Snake can there really be?
Billions.
Let's find out.
That's a great point. The ones that are named Snake, though, are pretty scary.
Yeah. I think definitely men named Snake in the world.
Because at least I can put a restraining order on them. You can't put a restraining order on all the snakes, like animals in the world.
Can you just try to visualize right now every snake on Earth, and they're all like 20 feet behind you, coming in at an incredibly fast speed?
Yeah,
that is the scariest
horrible.
fucking thing I've ever thought of in my life. I like snakes. Yeah, I'm not even scared of snakes, but that is terrifying.
Right? Yeah, I'm not scared of snakes either, but like I sure would be scared of every single one in the world altogether chasing me.
It'd be like a tidal wave.
Yeah, 100
Yeah.
foot tidal wave of snakes just coming at you, dude. I just imagine that that painting of the tidal wave, just but all snakes.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
that famous painting from Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow.
I would like
Yes.
to answer the question of how many people are named Snake according to
please.
mynamestats.com.
Yes.
Snake is ranked the 48,712th most popular name. In the United States, an estimated population of 74.
Okay.
I would also
74
like
people.
to add to that. If you have 74 people chasing you, the fastest snake in the world is the Sidewinder, which can move at about 18 miles per hour. The average human can run at about 20 miles per hour, or 19 and a
snakes?
half. So I think I could outrun all the snakes in the world. I'm not sure I could outrun all the men named Snake.
Really? You running 20 miles an hour on average?
I'm just saying that's what
Patrick?
the average running speed
I've seen
is
you.
or something.
I've seen you run.
Okay, I'm slower than that. They're all catching
just
up to
kidding. I
me.
don't-
Even
I
the,
don't
all the
mean that.
Sidewinders and people named Snake are. Okay, we can move on. KSBOKC asked some people-specific questions. For David and Patrick, what do you miss most about having Matt on the podcast? And what's been the biggest surprise about adding Jordan and Summer?
Well, I don't miss much. I don't really miss the guy. I'm just kidding. No, I'm joking, Matt. I don't mean that. I mean, I miss Matt all the time on this podcast. First of all, I mean, you just became one of my best friends doing this show, and so just not getting to see you every week is I just felt a loss there. Now I get to see you in the Discord all the time, which is awesome, right? But I think I think about this a lot. Like in comedy, they say that I learned this when I was taking improv classes, is like some of the strongest performers are not like the ones out there like doing like constant jokes like 100% of the time. Like they're the people that like take their time and are patient and like lay back and then fire out like a fucking banger because like they're waiting for the exact moment to strike. That's who you remind me of on the podcast. You know what I mean? I feel like you jump in at just the right time and you always crack me up. I love that about you. And then I also love just how like committed you are to talking about like business and like that side of it as well, and like coming at it from that perspective was such an invaluable part of this podcast. And I think it's a lot of stuff that I've tried to like learn and talk about more in your absence. You really inspired me in that way.
Wow, you just stole everything. I would say.
You could do the other question then.
Well, yeah, I will, because honestly, like what you said about the comedy was one of the first things I thought about, was like how Matt maybe didn't say as much as us, but like what what you brought was like really valuable in terms of both comedy and then just when you were being serious. But I think the biggest surprise about adding Jordan and Summer for me would be just how seamless it has been. I think like David and I spent a long time thinking about how we would ask you, or like, I don't know, like, and will it work and all this stuff. And then it was like, yes. And it's gone great. Like, not that I expected it to go poorly. We wouldn't have asked you if we thought that was going to happen, but like that you said yes, maybe too. Like it's a big commitment. And even if it's not every week, it's still a big commitment. And I'm very thankful. And I don't think this is a surprise, but like, just, we kind of hinted at this, but like having your knowledge though too, like brings in different and fills in different I don't want to say holes, but holes. So that's been a pleasant thing. So there's more.
Yeah, I love having you guys on. I think our listeners do a lot too. From people that I've talked to that listen to the show, like they say lots. I mean, first of all, they say they miss Matt, but second of all, they say that they love what both of y'all bring separately to the podcast, and then also like how well you fit into the unit as well. And I mean, and you guys are, like you guys are all like my best friends, man. Like I love doing this show with you guys. That's not a surprise, but it's amazing,
Yeah.
I miss Matt too, for the record.
Yeah. Of course
We
we
miss
miss
you, Matt.
Matt.
Thank you.
KSBOKC also asked a question for Jordan and Summer. What were you most nervous about when joining the podcast, and what's your favorite moment since joining permanently? I think we already talked about that one a little bit, but were y'all nervous at all?
Of course. Yeah. For me, I guess it's kind of two-part, like the commitment. It is a big commitment to meet with such frequency. And I was super nervous the first time I handled video in Patrick's absence, and then it went perfectly fine. And I was like, I can do this anytime now. So
You crushed it.
yeah, that's not me saying it's a lot of work. Like, that's not me trying to be like, oh, anybody can do it. I'm not trying to say that what Patrick does every single week isn't like a big deal, because it
And
is.
Matthew before me, yeah.
Yeah. But like, yeah, that's something I can handle now. It's on my list of things I'm capable of. But also the concern of, obviously David just like set that aside, but the feelings of, yes, I've been a guest on the podcast before, but am I going to be able to come in every single week and have meaningful things to say? Are people going to care about what I have to say every single week? Are they going to get tired of me being the person that's like, well, I still want to talk about Fortnite and Pokemon? But I'm fine. I think I'm finally getting into the seat of I'm going to talk about what I want to talk about, and I should speak with my whole chest every time. And this has been that learning experience for me, and I love that.
Yeah, I mean, Patrick won't shut up about Splatoon 3, so please talk about Fortnite all you want. I don't know. I guess I was a bit nervous just to kind of like, for both of us to have to fill the shoes of Matthew, this prolific third host of Switch Headz. I'm laughing as I say that, but I am serious, because it's like, I listened to every episode of the podcast since the beginning, and I was like, damn, like he did add such a different component to that. And like, I like what David was saying about learning more about the business aspect, which I know a little bit about and I can like talk about, but just like having to fill those shoes, but then also like expand upon, I guess it was probably like my most nervous point. But the thing I was not nervous about was knowing that both me and Summer were joining, because it's like, so instead of one person having to fill that shoe, it's two that also like add something different than what Matthew was adding as well. So it's like that, not even like a division, but like a split of responsibility or interest is just like a little bit, it was more comforting in that way. But that was, I think, my biggest nervousness. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Instead of feeling like we were replacing him, it was more like he left and then we're like expanding the podcast, right? Because that, of course, is like a thought, I think, for anybody in a situation similar to this is, well, I don't want to be the replacement necessarily for someone who God, I made fan cams of Matthew. Like, of course I love the guy. Right. So I'm clearly not like, I'm coming for his job. So that, for listeners who Matthew was maybe their favorite host, like, oh man, he's getting replaced. Like, nah.
I hope our podcast has some drama like that.
Yeah, probably drive engagement. You know what I mean?
Yeah, go to the Discord, say your favorite host, vote with buff cloud emoji if it's me.
Fuck, marry, kill us. And,
no, don't do that.
No, don't do that. No.
Well, we have a few more questions. Maybe we can bang through these real quick.
Sure.
Emma asks, how, if at all, would you improve the function of me's?
Oh, I mean, I would do so much with this, so much so that I feel like we kind of already did an episode on this a little bit when we talked about me's, but it's like, man, bring back me's so much. Like, I loved what they did with Miiverse, you know what I mean, and Miitomo and stuff like that, and then they kind of just stripped it all away. I wanted to see that continue to evolve. You know, I don't want them to be like more realistic or anything like that, but I want them to be tied into my Nintendo account. And they kind of are right now, but I just want to see that functionality grow and grow and grow. You know, like I love when my Mii is in a video game and I can play as myself, or I can send something over to my friend and my Mii delivers them a little letter or something like that, right? And then even with Amiibo, you know, like you can put Mii's on Amiibo, and that functionality was never really used properly, right? And so I just think that there's so much you could do, so much so that I can't really get into all of it now, but I really want to see Mii's make a comeback. I fear that they won't, but I really hope that they do. And I hope that the next system still has a Mii maker in it and some modicum of Mii functionality. I'll be really sad if that's stripped away completely.
Yeah. My fear is that they put the nail on the coffin with Switch Sports by not including Mii's in that game. That said, my remaining hope is if we get a new Tamagotchi Life, then we're so back, baby. We are so back. But who knows if we're getting a Tamagotchi Life? I know people have been asking for it. I don't know how big that voice is compared to, you know, like, would I take a new F-Zero game over Tamagotchi Life? I don't know.
Sadly for Jordan, I think that's what Grezzo's working on.
Yeah.
Shut up. Shut up, Vince.
So Carosetta asks, what is your favorite frivolous gaming purchase? Does anybody have a frivolous gaming purchase?
All of my amiibos. Every single one of them.
That's, yeah.
I just got the Xenoblade Chronicles 3 amiibos. Just came in last week. And I looked at these. I was like, man, these are cool. Go on a shelf.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm starting to do that. I'm entering the phase of my life where I'm buying games purely for them to sit on my shelf. Like, these are full inbox games that I don't have the consoles to play. These are like Japanese. I've got Pilot Wings for the Super Famicom and Picross 2 for the Game Boy. I mean, I guess I could play this on a Game Boy Advance, but it's like, I'm not going to play these games. I just want to look at them in the background of my of my webcam on when I'm doing the podcast, you know, and I don't want to stop. They're like, I'm like, every once in a while, I'm like looking up like, ooh, some like Japanese versions of games that I really like, and what can I buy? And so, yeah, I think, unfortunately, I find myself entering that part of my life.
Oh, yeah.
It's cool to just admire them. So you know what? No disrespect. You know, it sounds good. I think mine was probably definitely all the special editions I got for Switch. The most recent of which was when I waited in line for Breath of the Wild 2. Wow. For Tears of the Kingdom. And by the time I was, you know, third in line or whatever. And by the time I got inside, I was like, yeah, give me that special edition. Give me the controller. And I'll also take the Switch case as well. And I'm like, I didn't need any of that, but I just got swept up in the hype. And then even the special edition, it's like, I haven't really looked at the pins that came with it, or even the art book, because I didn't want to look at the art book before I finished the game. So is that frivolous? I probably, but it brought me joy. It's also
audio listeners. David just tried to show us some pins and fucking dropped them.
Yeah, but that's not a purchase. That's a platinum point subscription.
You got to pay for shipping, man.
I guess so, but it's what, like $6?
These pins gave me so much fucking. I almost got an aneurysm trying to buy these pins.
I do remember that. I remember just, it's on. Oh, it's on an hour early than when they said it was going to be. Oh shit.
Yeah.
It's so hard for me to pick a favorite. As someone who is constantly participating in consumerism, especially in the fan space, I just want to give a quick voice to fanzines. If there's something that you're interested in, look it up. Chances are there is a fanzine for it. I am currently looking at participating in a 5-year anniversary Fire Emblem 3 Houses zine that's going to be getting produced and published this year. And I haven't regretted supporting a single zine. I just paid for like that. I'm going to go ahead and say that's probably my favorite frivolous purchases. And I buy a lot of fucking merch and a lot of official merch, but I love supporting independent artists as well. well who are just so passionate about things that they want to make things happen. I have a Fire Emblem Three Houses tarot deck. I just paid for an Engage tarot deck. That's like a bigger package. It's going to have a lot of other merch with it. If there's a specific character that you're into, chances are somebody's made a fanzine for it. Like I have a bunch of Manuela drink cards from Fire Emblem Three Houses. Most of these are Fire Emblem Three Houses, but like other fandom spaces too. I got a Fire Emblem Three Houses cookbook. I got an astrology book. Like all of these like fan-based projects that I just love supporting. And don't even get me started on the shit I buy for cosplay, which I'm going to qualify. I'm going to qualify as being frivolous gaming because almost all of my cosplays are gaming related. But maybe we'll do another episode later on that.
Real quick, silly question from Steve Irwin: Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter?
Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, what's
All
Not
day,
even
every
gonna
day,
dignify that with a
after
response.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have to
But also
talk
like
about it.
read more books, guys. Come on.
The Bible.
Moving on.
The Bible.
Shut the fuck
Good
up. Get him
answer.
out of here.
The future of the podcast. There's a couple questions here that maybe we can take us out. The Huge 27 asks, where do you want to see the pod in the next 5 years?
The moon.
Space.
Really?
Mars.
I don't have a good answer for this because of David's point about 5 years and how much has changed in our lives and just where we started. Like, man, I don't know. Like,
I'd like more YouTube subscribers. I think I bust my fucking ass on editing.
You do.
You know,
You do.
a video
100% do.
every single week for the past 4 years, because we pretty much started doing video like a year in. I have uploaded a feature film length video to the internet. But I think that's mainly it. I just want to see that number go up a little bit. But I think, you know, honestly, realistically, it's just, I just want to be able to keep making the kind of show that we like to make. And with all of the trappings that come with it.
KSBOKC says, if you had a magic wand and could have one dream guest in 2024, who would it be and why?
I kind of don't want to say some of these out because I have a lot of dream guests that I'd love to have on the show, but I kind of don't want to.
Does a
jinx
magic
it.
wand mean that we're bringing them back from the dead because it's a magic wand?
No, fair enough. Okay.
Because like
no.
the answer is obviously Iwata, right?
Yeah, that would be really nice.
Reggie Fils-Aimé. That's
Yeah.
it. That's the easy one. But yeah, David.
I mean, Reggie is like the all-time get of the podcast. I mean, I'd love to have like Miyamoto or like any of these big Nintendo guys on, but I think I'd prefer to talk to Reggie. You know, and sit down
We're a
and
Western
talk to Reggie.
podcast. It would make sense to get the most famous president of America.
But I mean, I think that I would really like to have somebody on to talk Picross, and I'd like to do a really nice, deep. And I kind of don't want to say who I'm trying to get because I kind of want it to be a surprise if we get it. But I'd really like to do a real deep, like Picross iceberg episode, and just really get into what makes it so good. Talk about the art and the artistry of Picross, and anyway, that's kind of my dream goal, other than Reggie for right now. But I mean, so many people, and hopefully we can get some of those people on in the upcoming years.
I think I have my actual answer, and it's Charles Martinet.
Yeah,
No.
that'd be really nice.
Yeah.
I bet we could. You know what? Also, I will say this: if we're talking sausage, not the sausage that I post to all the Switch heads.
8 inches.
Yeah, 8-inch LCD. But no, I'm always surprised at the lack of friction that comes when asking someone that I really look up to be on the podcast. Sometimes I send messages out and people just never respond to me, and they just don't respond. And I think that kind of scares me away from asking other people because it makes me think that like I'm a burden to like ask. But then enough people that I've been thinking about talking to for a long time do say yes, and they say yes like right away. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to say who because I don't want to put people on blast, but it's like I'm surprised at how open a lot of people are and how a lot of people want to they're not just like, oh, what's your subscriber count? How many listeners do you have? Is this going to help my brand or whatever? It's like, no, like they just like to talk about things, and a lot of people are doing this for the love of the game, right?
Mhm.
And I'm always surprised how many people are just down to do our little show. Yeah, it's a great thing.
I'm surprised too, because I am afraid of asking people. And David, even though you just said that, I always get the impression you're not afraid of asking people. And every time you ask somebody and they say yes, I'm always like, man, all we got to do is ask. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
what?
You'll never know.
Yeah.
The worst
Yep.
thing they'll do is say no.
Yeah, or not respond, yeah.
Or just not
That's
respond. Yeah,
Mhm.
which is fine.
It's like a life
Definitely feel
lesson.
free to ask some people, Patrick.
Well, there's like a life
Could use
lesson
the
there.
assist.
Yeah. You know.
Yeah.
But Matthew, what were you going to say?
I would love to talk video games with Post Malone. Just as like he
Oh.
like a joyous person. He just seems like a fun person to talk to. I think that'd be really fun. And then the one I would love to talk to Hideo Kojima just about anything.
Yeah, those are good answers. Can I throw another one in now that you said Post Malone?
Yeah.
Melissa Villasenor.
Oh,
That's been
dude.
kind of like, I've like literally almost sent her a message on like Instagram, like just like an Instagram DM being like, do you want to come on my gaming podcast? I don't know why I never did. Probably because I thought it'd be
You
creepy.
should.
But I just think like, she's a big gamer, and I think she'd be really fun to have on the show. So maybe I'll
Yeah.
do that. If anybody
saw
knows
this-
Melissa, hit me up.
I saw her
Yeah.
stand up at Cap City. That was maybe in like the fall, and it was great.
She's so funny, man. And
Yeah,
I'd love to
incredible.
talk games with her.
Well, I think that's going to do it for the questions. I know this is our chance to kind of close out this section, and I know we've gone long, but does anybody want to take the lead here?
Yeah, I mean, I guess as we're wrapping up here, I think it would behoove us to make a little announcement here, and that is that we are finally launching our Patreon, and I'm so excited about this. This has been literally 5 years coming. This is usually something you try to do at the beginning of something like this, but we are finally launching a Patreon, and if you're listening to this, then it should be up now today. Hopefully. That's the plan. If that changes, my bad. I'm not editing this. But we would love if you would go and check out our Patreon if it behooves you to support us. I know a lot of people have been asking over the years, and I think if it makes it any better, I hope you know that we plan to take all of anything that we make from this Patreon and put it towards the show, put it towards getting more word out there about the show and trying to get on more platforms and get it in front of as many people as possible. But we have some great, at least introductory tiers on our Patreon that we're going to be launching. Includes like, a Discord channel for patrons and also early access to potentially additional content that we will be making. Granted, none of us really know exactly what we're doing, but I think because of that, we'd like to hear from you guys if there's anything that you would like to see included in a Super Switch Heads Patreon, because I don't do too many Patreons, myself. And so this is kind of a new world for me. But did I nail it? Did I nail the Patreon?
You nailed it.
Beautiful. You nailed it.
Only thing I'd
Nailed
add,
it.
and this goes without saying, is that we're going to keep doing the show for free. So like if
Yes.
you don't have
Mhm.
money to support the Patreon, we're not
That's
worried about that. Thanks for being here and listening. That's
Right.
equally important.
just
Yes.
thanks for listening, because I want to go ahead and emphasize that this podcast is a completely like host generated podcast. There are no sponsors, there's no ad reads. Any support goes directly back into the podcast, and that obviously would mean a lot to us. But you've heard us talk about it for the past how long already, that we love doing this. We're going to keep doing it regardless. But we all know, finances don't hurt to make the things that we love doing that much better. Right. So, hey, here it is.
All right. Well, I think that will do it for our main topic. Oh my gosh, that was a long one. We're going to take a
It's our 5-year anniversary. I think we earned it.
We did
Yeah.
5 years
Yeah.
worth of a show right there.
5 hours of the show.
So sorry, Matt, that the episode we brought you back onto is like over 2 hours long.
Happens. I signed up for it.
We'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll talk about the games we've been playing recently. All right, the main game I'll talk about is Broken Age. So I picked this up on sale at some point, and wanted to play something recently. And my kid and I just played through Broken Age, and really enjoyed it. It's a point and click game. It's on the Switch. That's where I played it because I bought it on again. I think this game goes on sale. It's an older game.
This is a Double Fine.
It's
game.
Double Fine point and click adventure. So it really brought me back to playing point and click games, which I played so many of in like the late 80s and early 90s. And the humor and the writing is just as good as a lot of those classic ones. And I just loved it. The puzzles at first, when we were playing it, I was like nailing it and felt like, man, this game's really intuitive and easy. But towards the end, there were some really unintuitive and obtuse puzzles that I did look up just to get moving, and some of which I am super glad I looked up because I was like, so I will say, I think there is a few things like that towards the end, but if you're looking for a narrative, point and click game that you can beat in a few days, you can do a lot worse than Broken Age, and I really had a fun time with it. Wild story too, but fun and great characters and good humor. So
I'll go next. I finished the audiobook of Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, and beautiful.
Incredible
Novel. I absolutely loved it. I think my favorite part, just to keep it brief, was the talking about how to deal with grief in a very human way and how everyone deals with it in a different way, and depicting it from a first person point of view from different people was like really good to read, and like felt very real and made me appreciate the novel that much more. But to games I've been playing, I was playing Blasphemous. I started that because I was on a plane and I said, you know what? I'm going to throw on Blasphemous and see how I feel about this Metroidvania. I'm mixed because it is, a Souls-like Metroidvania, and I loved Hollow Knight, but something about Blasphemous, I feel like some of the platforming is a bit cheap. And then when you die, you have to go all the way back to your last save point. And so you end up replaying like a certain section of platforming over and over again without having to go through this whole first part again. But overall, I do enjoy the game, and I probably will finish it. And I love the art, dude. The art in it is incredible. The animations are so sick, dude. I can't think of another game that I've played that looks quite like it, and so I'm a little bit fascinated by that. So I'll probably keep going. I'll finish it. It's not a super long game either. And then also, while I was on the plane, I just started up Vampire Survivors again, because you're on a plane. That's an easy game to throw on and kill 30 minutes if you go through the whole run. So that was just super easy. Fucking awesome game. I love it. I kind of want to play the other game that David's been talking about, but I haven't.
Picayune Dreams.
Yeah, I haven't played Vampire Survivors enough to move on to Vampire Survivor likes yet. So I'm kind of waiting to get to that point. And then I also started, before I left, I started Voice of Cards, The Isle Dragon Roars, which I talked to Summer about a little bit. And dude, another game I have a lot of mixed feelings on. Like, I love the storytelling, and like it's completely voice acted, and it's great voice acting. I was very impressed. But there's something about like it kind of taps into like an old school RPG where there's a lot of random battles. To my point, like, you're wandering the world and there's almost too many random battles, to the point where I'm like, I don't know if I want to play 20 hours of this amount of random battels.
I don't think it's quite that long.
Okay, great. I just was like playing the random battles. Like, I can't do this for 20 hours. I don't
think you'll have to do it that long, but
it's like you're walking around in the world and there's 2 per minute, and that's a bit much for me. But overall, I might keep going. We'll see. And then last but not least, I did play some Super Smash Brothers Ultimate with the crew I was with in New York City. We would go back to an apartment and just play Super Smash Brothers Ultimate. And that was it. That's how we would end our night. And it was a really fun bonding moment to just all trash talk each other in Smash and then have to go make a movie the next day.
Oh, yeah. I'll go next. Before I get into these games, I just want to quickly say shout out to the Picross subreddit, by the way. I don't know if you guys knew that there was a Picross subreddit, but there is. And it is the chillest, most helpful subreddit of all time. 99% of the posts are people just posting a puzzle that they're stuck on and being like, help, please. And then somebody's like, gives like the most subtle little hint that like gets them along their way and then gets them going on the rest of the puzzle. I got stuck on a puzzle in Picross 2 for the Game Boy. I've been in the Wario mode. It gets really kind of obtuse and really difficult. And I actually learned some skills that I will take forward in future Picross games as well. So shout out to them. I've been playing a little bit of a game that I got on Steam. I think actually all of these are Steam Deck games. I promise I still play my Switch every once in a while. But Ballistic NG was on sale recently. It is a Wipeout like, I would say. Wipeout 2049 for the PlayStation, futuristic racer game. This is very much that. I only played it a little bit, but I really love it so far. It's a ton of fun. I was always more of an F-Zero guy, and I never really got into Wipeout too much. So this definitely is a lot floatier and slidier than F-Zero, but I kind of dig that, and like learning those mechanics has been a ton of fun for me. So yeah, I really love Ballistic NG. That one's definitely worth checking out. And then I've also been playing 2 very story-based games. I just wanted to start some new games this past week. And the next 2 games I'm talking about are both games you can beat in, I think, like 5 or 6 hours. And so I'm excited, and I hope to actually beat both of them this upcoming week. And they've been on my backlog for a while. One of them is Dordogne, which is, this was in a Nintendo Direct a while ago. And I remember everybody just looking at it and being like, this is one of the prettiest looking games I've ever seen. And after I've now played it a little bit, I can say, yes, it is one of the most beautiful games I've ever played. It is a game that takes place in a small town in France called Dordogne. And you play this woman named Mimi, who's like in her 20s or 30s, and she returns back to her grandma's house. And when she finds a lot of stuff, her grandmother's passed away, and so she finds a lot of items that send her back in time through memories, and then you kind of play through these memories as like a 12-year-old version of Mimi, right? So it's kind of jumping back and forth between the present day, and which is in 2002, and then back in time, which I think is like in the 80s. And it's a really just beautiful game, very emotional. It like really tugs at your heartstrings and really makes you like appreciate family. And it also isn't afraid to tackle really difficult subjects like, anger and tempers, and how, that can get passed down generationally from grandfathers to fathers to daughters and that kind of stuff. And so there's a really interesting lesson to learn from that game. I'm really enjoying it. I can't wait to finish that one. And then lastly, I want to give a shout out to The Expanse, a Telltale series. I've had this one, my eyes on this one for a long time. I was waiting until all the episodes came out to finally get it. And then it was only on Epic Game Store for a while. And then it finally came out on Steam, and I got it when it came to Steam. And I can't really recommend this game for most people. But if you are a fan of the TV show The Expanse, this game is so good, man. I love this game so much. I'm having such a good time with it. I am such a huge fan of The Expanse. I think it's my favorite TV show of all time. And just being able to be in this world and move around in it, and and have my mag boots on when it's 0G, and then just be able to lift up off the ground and then float around in any direction I want, mag boot onto the ceiling, and just everything about that world that I love is in this game so much. And the acting is incredible. The voice acting is so good. Kara G, who plays Kamina Drummer on the show, it's one of my favorite characters on the show, reprises her role for this game, and she's the main character of this game, and she is just amazing in this game. All the side characters are so well acted, and the graphics are really, really good too. The sound design is incredible. It's just, it really feels like, obviously this is made by Deck 9, which is a lot of ex-Telltale guys, right? But it really feels like everything they've done, every game they've made up to this point is kind of like led to this project. And it's just technically, I think, the best game they've ever made. And again, I wish I could recommend this to everybody because I love The Expanse, and it is like a prequel to the series. So you'd think it might be a good way to like jump into it. But there's just so much jargon and stuff that you just need to know about the world in order to really appreciate this that I can't really do that. But I'm going to say right now, watch the fucking show, The Expanse. Like, actually do it, man, because I really think it's one of the finest TV shows of all time. And the fact that we basically got a whole brand new season of the show in the form of this game is really special. And I'm just having the time of my life playing this. So who wants to go next?
I can be really quick. I'll probably be looking into that now, though, David. The Expanse.
It's awesome.
Yeah, not really any new games for me. I'm still playing Fortnite. Still trying to get to. I got to get to the bonus Battle Pass rewards because I need to have Snake emoting the "Bird is the word" dance from Family Guy. Still playing through my maddening playthrough of Fire Emblem Engage. I am doing the relays, so if you are wanting to get back into doing the relays and maybe even try some of the PvP, hit me up because I got a couple of friends who have joined me for that, but we're still looking for like 1 or 2 more people to complete relays with us. I also been doing Mario Kart Online just a little bit, and I also logged into Super Smash Brothers, but not in time, a day late to get the new spirits that were apparently only available for 5 days. What the fuck is that bullshit? The Hades and 13 Sentinel spirits were apparently only 5 days long available. You guys know anything about that?
No, that
I mean, I
sounds
know they
terrible.
added them, but I didn't know
Yeah, that it was only for 5 days. And I
Now
logged
you have
in
to wait
literally the day after.
for the spirit board to randomly have them. Maybe I don't know.
All the more reason to hack your Switch.
I guess I'll need to read into it more because all I saw, I didn't have any kind of announcement for new spirits added period when I booted Smash. So
Bummer.
I don't know if it was you had to log in during this period of time or what, but I would have loved to have had the Hades spirits. So, yeah, that's me. Matthew, what have you been playing?
Me. I took a little bit of break from video games over the holidays. Holidays were interesting for me, but I really found myself getting into pinball over the last couple months, specifically like digital pinball. And so I probably spent a good 2-3 weeks planning and actively looking at building a digital pinball cabinet. I have an arcade cabinet for arcade stuff, but I spent a long time like thinking about what I want and what kind of table that I want. Do I want digital? I also looked into buying a Twilight Zone table. That's my favorite pinball table. But what turned out what I chose instead was less space. I bought there's a link in our show notes, but I bought this pinball controller that this guy from Cleveland Software has. It's like you put it on your lap and it's got solenoids in it, so you can like feel the flippers as you push the buttons. And then I bought actual pinball legs and I put them on it. And so I'll have a couple monitors and like a portrait monitor. I'm going to make a small digital pinball table right next to my arcade with this pinball controller with pinball legs on it.
That's awesome.
Hell yeah!
Wow, this looks badass.
Yeah, it's really cool. And like there's like sometimes you wander into like interesting social groups, and like folks that are really into digital pinball are like super helpful. There's so many tables out there. There's so many complex software. And so it's been really fun to like discover something new and to like discover a new piece of software I can tinker with and also like something to build. So that's what I've kind of been into. Pinball. I know, David, you played a lot of pinball on your Switch.
Yeah,
over the years. So.
I love digital pinball. Like Pinball FX is super fun, and there's a bunch of great pinball games, like Demon Tilt as well. It's really fun on the Switch. Yeah,
I'll have to have you all over once it's ready, and we'll play some pinball and drink beers.
Oh, that sounds like so much fun.
Sparkling water. I don't know.
I guess that's going to do it then for this episode, marking our 5th anniversary. I can't believe it. 5 years. Thanks, Matthew, for coming and joining us and coming back and being our 5th spot here.
We're going to have to add another host for our 6-year.
Thanks to MilkyWay.co, who does our website. Thanks to Corduroy for doing our music. If you're looking for me online, I am PDYX. And now I am also putting together socials for my game company, One Frog Games. So check that out too.
You can find me everywhere at Boardan. Also, I'll be helping to run the Patreon, which is patreon.com/SuperSwitchHeads.
Ooh, nice plug. You can find me on Discord, Matthew, MATHYOU.
My handle just about everywhere is Weebwitched.
Pretty much everywhere on the internet at Monolith Fiji. And if you'd like to find our show on social media, we are at SwitchHeads on Twitter, at Super SwitchHeads on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. We got a Patreon. Make sure you check that out. I got to work that in, so I got to figure out where I'm going to work that into the outro. But we've also got a website, switchheads.com. And then we have a Discord, a Facebook group, and a Patreon. That's where I'll put it. We'll have links to all three of those in the description of this episode. Please join us over at the Discord. We'd love to have you in there. It's such a wonderful community. If you can't tell, we've been gushing on the Discord the entire episode. It really has saved so many of our lives. We'd love to have you guys in there. That's true. I was dangling off a bridge, and the Discord could decide to save me or a bus full of school children, and it chose me. But we'll have links to that in the description. And please check out our Patreon. It's live now, baby. It's up there for you to check out. You asked for it. We finally delivered after 5 long years. But that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you guys so much for sticking with us to the end of this very long episode and throughout the 5 years of us doing this show. I love doing this from the bottom of my heart. It's one of my favorite things that I get to do. It's wild that I get to do it every week, and I still love it so much. And it really means the world to me that you guys have listened to us for so long. Here's to 5 more years. We're going to be back next week with another great episode, so don't go anywhere. But in the meantime, gang, you know the drill. Stay safe out there. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to one another. Why don't you pick up a hobby and do it every week for 5 years? But other than that, we love you very much. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.